All right. Go ahead, introduce yourself, who you help, and how you help them.
All right. My name is Paul, and I was born 39 years ago, and I was born to help people who are scaling to six and seven figures get their brand in order with visuals that are high end, with the structure and with the scaling capability that only high end visuals can give you, that no one else can copy because no one else has 25, 25 years of Photoshop experience. And if they do, they're really expensive, like me. So when people can't just recreate what you have in Canva, things look at this level that you're rubbing shoulders with the right people, the people that will help you get to the 7 and 8 figure level.
Love that. It's very concise and very targeted. So how did you get into doing that?
So I've always been an artist since I was very young, and I was always the person people would go to say, "Hey, I need a poster. Hey, I need a brochure. Hey, I need a business card. Hey, I need a logo." And so I realized that, oh, this is something I'm good at and I really enjoy it. And I love the problem solving nature of this. And so I started charging for it, very little money for it. And eventually I got to the point where being a graphic designer was not enough. Being a graphic designer means you're selling things rather than selling results. So I started learning about brand strategy and about how to strategically build logos, strategically build websites, strategically build all the things that you would need with strategy behind it, not just tactics or not just what looks good. So it really just evolved, and I just got better and better and better. Um, of course, artists kind of always kind of hate the work they did a few years ago, and that just kind of follows you till you die. But yeah, I learned the hard way, which was like self taught, self teaching, and then eventually I got a degree in like graphic design much later in life. But I'm pretty self taught, and so I have I think, a unique perspective and stuff to bring to the table that people in the agency model are not able to actually provide.
So what are those things that people in the agency model don't provide that you do provide?
So when you are a designer who has gone to college at a young age and you learn the right way to do stuff at a younger age, of course, than me, and then you get hired by an agency who has a set way of doing things, that they will train you in the way that they want you to work. And a lot of agencies, that's very similar. And so and then if you ever go out on your own, then you're stuck with the way that they worked. And I really had such a non-traditional path to glory, I guess, that it I didn't get stuck in those ruts in those ways. And in some ways that serves, in that I can bring a unique perspective, and in some ways that limits, in that it's going to be difficult for me to ever be hired in an agency model. I'm also very um, uh, I did not get a lot of the collaboration that I would have gotten in an agency, but I also didn't get paid as shitty as I would in an agency if I just started out as a graduate. So this it's a give and take.
So were you an entrepreneur like from like when you started working? Like,
Right. So I had jobs here and there. I was a let me start with the first time I ever got paid for a painting. I was in I was in 12th grade. So I was graduating high school, and I went to art school to be an illustrator. But then the illustration program was no longer accessible. They closed it down, and so I um, completely forgot your question. Other than like, oh, was I an entrepreneur forever? So I had regular little jobs. Like I was a front desk person for a massage parlor at one point. I was hired as a copywriter before. So I had so many little odd jobs, and then I started my company because I really found out I hated going to work, and I hated being told what to do in a way by somebody who has no idea what I do. So I realized that I need to be the one to tell me what to do in a way that I understand. So I became a freelancer pretty much, and then I started my company.
That's quite the story.
There's so many stories.
How would you say your approach to branding is different than others who do it?
Right. So I have a feeling, and I haven't been on the other side of branding before. So I haven't ever been the client asking for a brand. I have always been the person who somebody's depending on me to pull all the gold out of them and all the really cool shit that they don't necessarily think is that cool, and turn it into a brand that actually they can grow with, that grows with them, that kind of points to a place 5 or 10 years in the future, so they're not having to rebrand super quickly. And so my process, I kind of built it from trial and error. Really, I built it from what information do I need to actually be able to capture the essence of what they're bringing me. And there I used to have boring ways to do this, which is fill out 64 questions, and nobody wants to do that. So now I have something that I call the Meredith Brooks method, where it takes all like it's like 7 questions, and it's all based on the song Bitch by Meredith Brooks. And once you get to the end, you have pretty much given me a monologue of everything about your brand that you that I could ever ask for. It's fun.
Yeah, I've been through that. It's pretty fun. How have you changed your networking strategy over time from when you were just starting out networking until now?
All right. So when you just start out, you don't know anybody. And so it's really hard to get clients when nobody knows who you are, what you can do, and you haven't proved yourself yet. So my networking strategy in the past was go to like 1 million cups. And then I was too afraid to talk to anybody. So I didn't talk to anybody. And or I would just beg all of my friends for leads, for people to hire me. And it was very difficult to get higher ticket payers to pay me like $10,000 for a website, which I was charging that in like 2017, 2018, like not a long time ago. I was still charging about the same as I guess I charge for that now. But I had such a struggle trying to connect to people who I could help as well. I think the reason as well was because I was saying I can build you a website or I can make you a logo, versus if your brand uh, like operates at a certain level, you will get more clients and you will have a lot easier time like taking what you're really good at and as amplifying that and multiplying the client acquisition, multiplying how much you can charge for stuff. um and also there's just so many things I didn't know when I was much younger that I know now, like that there's many stages of building a business you don't really need a brand for, and the brand is not going to help you get to the next level until you are actually know who your customers are, know what you're selling, are actually getting revenue from that, and you're pretty consistent with how you are approaching your customers and how your customers are and how like your income gets pretty consistent, and then I can help you. I cannot usually help you as well for most cases if you are DIY. Like I can build you a brand, but you don't even know what you're selling. You don't even know what you're selling that people want. You don't know if there's demand. You don't know like how that all works yet. And you have to figure that out before you really start branding.
Yeah, so you mentioned when you're talking about the the networking piece that you just had friends and you just asked them for leads, so basically getting referrals from them, so whoever they happen to know. But again, who those friends are depends like on the group of friends that you were hanging out with. So did they know a lot of high-end people or low-end people or like
No,
what's the
they did not. I would get one or two connections, but the overall majority is the people that I was around. We were all kind of in the same place. We were all like some people would know somebody here or there, but really, um, like I did not rub shoulders with a ton of people who owned restaurants or owned really expensive businesses. Like really, I didn't know anybody who had a business that was making more than a few hundred thousand a year.
yeah, but from the way you're telling this story, if I'm understanding correctly, you did change how you were networking and started rubbing shoulders with people who were making more
Yeah,
than your previous friends were making.
yes. So the way that I did that was I I realized that if I wanted to network, I need to get out of my comfort zone and out of the place with people that I knew. So I applied to be a contestant in a reality TV show that's not really on TV and it's not really interesting to watch. So if you're watching this and you were on it, you agree with me. But it was really cool in that it got a like ton of entrepreneurs in the same room for a week. And it did this like five times a year or so, to where I met 70, 75 odd entrepreneurs that week, and a lot of them became my clients, and a lot of them have actually either helped me grow or became my clients or just became really good friends. And so I expanded my network amazingly, and it was like $4,000 to get on it too. Plus you had to take a week off, you had to drive to Tulsa, Oklahoma, or you had to fly. And then you had to somehow not get super intimidated by being in rooms with people who are doing a lot, like making a lot more money than you, and also who don't necessarily need your services all the time. But I learned so much about how to talk about what I do, and to talk about the results that I get people, rather than just the little, oh, I make a website, oh, I make a logo. I actually have results that are not just those, like buy an item, buy a service type of situation.
So what helped you get better at talking about that? Because I know that can be a struggle for a lot of people.
What helped me was reps. The more you do it bad, the better you will get. So I one of my favorite lines is that if you want to make good art, you have to make a lot of bad art before you can make good art. It's why when you're sketching, when you're making drawings, I try to tell people, don't try to make a masterpiece when your skill level is so much lower than this masterpiece idea. What you should be doing when you suck at art, or when you're an amateur, is actually studying anatomy, studying technique, studying do the hard boring stuff enough to where you're not going to be as shitty anymore, and then you can build your masterpiece. So I practiced a lot. Like I jumped in there, I was going to get my $4,000 worth. So I was like, the first day, immediately terrified. I didn't even remember my name when I went to sign up. Like they're like, what's your name? And I'm like, I don't know, you tell me. And they asked me about my business, and I was like, I don't also know about that. I have no idea how to talk about what I do. And so the best way to do that is to constantly practice and then constantly get feedback from people who can talk about what they do. You could also Google is your friend. How do I talk about what I do in a way that will get people to buy what I have? Just Google it. It's all there, it's all available, it's free.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are turning to AI, but sometimes it sounds too the same. So
Yeah.
have any comments on that?
Yeah. So if you're going to use AI to write content or to build stuff, you need to make sure that it doesn't have the hallmarks of AI in it, like the rule of three, or it's not this, it's this, or the thing that nobody tells you, or I quietly did this, I quietly did that. Like there's so many ways that you can tell if something's AI written, that it needs to it, AI should really just be to organize your thoughts, and it should not be making you sound like everyone else. Because when I start to read something and it's obviously AI generated, I don't read it. I move on. I'm not interested in what a computer and you collaborated to say if you're not going to edit it, if you're not going to put your own spin on it or your own voice into it. And I did run a workshop last year that was called Unfuck Your Brand Voice, where we went into how to use AI as well as how to really build out the rules for your brand voice. And then at the very end, we kind of tied it to AI a little bit. But you really should have a specific way of speaking, and that's who's actually separated from everyone else in the coaching industry, in design, and anything. Is people want authenticity, or else they're not going to be willing to spend the money on authenticity if they're not actually wanting to be authentic. You see a lot of people seeing AI as a shortcut, and it's a shortcut to poverty. It's not going to it's not going to make you money if you sound like everyone else.
What would you say are the best ways to get the most out of networking? Because it sounds like you did a lot. You showed up and then you talked about what you did. But of course, there's follow up, there's other things.
Yeah. So a few things that I did that I haven't actually talked about before while I was there is there were people, is it's not as much that you want to talk about what you do. Like what you do needs to be like the last thing you talk about. What you should actually be doing is learning about everyone else, because you cannot provide a solution unless you know what someone's problem is. You cannot get them to trust you until they trust that you're not just there to sell them something, which I wasn't just there to sell them something. I was there to network, and then sell them something. So a few things that I did to stand out was I used a lot of profanity. That was like the number one thing that I think people remembered me. And if you talk to anybody, most people use profanity. They just, not all of them admit it. I think it's probably 99.9% of people like are in traffic and everyone else is an asshole and everyone else is a all that horrible words, that you're not supposed to say, but everyone says them. And so I that was all that my brand was: F this and F that, but in a funny way. So I used humor, I used profanity, and then I actually gave a shit about people's businesses. Because when you actually show interest in what somebody else has to say and what somebody else is doing, um they are going to they're going to hear that, and they're going to see that you actually are listening to them versus just trying to sell them something. I'm not here to listen to your problems and then tell you my solution works for all of everyone's problems. I only help a specific focused type of person. And that's most not that's 99% of people are not my person. They're not the person that can actually benefit from what I do. So I have no business telling 99% of people what I do at that level. And the other thing that I did was there was a uh, kind of bakery cafe people that were there selling this thing called monkey bars, which is banana bread dipped in peanut butter and then dipped in chocolate. And they're the best things ever. And they're selling for like $5 a piece. So I was like, I will just buy the rest of these and you should hand them out. And what that did is people, like, they couldn't stop talking about me, and the people who got free monkey bars couldn't stop, like they found out who was responsible for that. And at the time I was just wanting to be like wanting them to, I know the pressure of trying to sell a bunch of things that you made to make some money back. And so I was just like, why don't we just, it was like, it was probably like $50. It wasn't, or $80 or something, but it wasn't that much money compared to the joy that people would have based on that money. And so that also brought me a lot of goodwill with the people around me. It wasn't intentional for that reason, but I think when you act as a good person, or when you act how you feel to create happiness and joy around you, then it comes back to you.
Those are some good tips and
Yeah.
ones I haven't really heard a lot of. Would you say you're more introverted or extroverted, and how does that affect the choices you make about networking?
Yeah. So I am an introvert. People exhaust me, but I can put on a good face. I can be entertaining for a while, but after a certain amount of hours, I am so tired. Words are not wording anymore. And so I do have to recharge by being alone, sometimes in a corner in the dark, um, with the heater on. But the um but I can be extroverted. I have like I can appear. It's not that I can't have energy. Obviously, I have a lot of energy. I was actually HOA president by accident for 2 years, and I was fine getting up in front of people. I was fine making it a whole like comedy routine to do the HOA meeting for the entire neighborhood every year. Um, and I didn't really enjoy it, but I was fine doing it, and I was pretty good at doing it. And so it's really I can put on the the face and the energy and the engagement really well. So I think if you're engaging, if you're sitting back and trying not to stand out and trying to just blend in, then you're not networking. You really have to engage people like you would want to be engaged as much as possible.
I would agree with that. You have to stand out. It's not just blending in and hiding there and hoping nobody sees me because then you're not creating those connections.
Yeah.
Getting comfortable being uncomfortable is part of the entrepreneur skill set. What helped you get past that when things felt uncomfortable?
Poverty helped me a lot. When you really need to achieve a certain goal, you are not going to sit on the couch and watch TV. You are going to work as hard as you can to achieve that goal. And that's a very uncomfortable place to be, is when you need to perform to get something that you need, or to get your name out there or whatever. So as long as you are satisfied where you are, by all means stay as comfortable as you can. That's the whole point of being where you want to be. But if you're not where you want to be and your income is not matching the level of income that you actually want, if your vibes are not vibing anymore because you can't afford your car payment or your rent or your mortgage, then something has to get uncomfortable before you're actually going to act. And the trick is to make yourself uncomfortable, is to put yourself in situations where at least until you can do this intrinsically and just keep hustling even when you're comfortable. But in the beginning, make yourself uncomfortable. Give yourself some deadlines. Give yourself some really shitty deadlines. So one of my making myself uncomfortable moments was investing 10 grand in a coaching program where I didn't know if I could afford an extra $1,000 a month to pay it off for the whole year. So I did it, and I was like, you know, you're either going to, life is going to suck for you, or you're going to rise above. And I, like, a few months later, had a $20,000 month, which helped me a lot during that time. I was broke as fuck before that, and I had this great month, and I was like, oh, I can actually do this. And then, like, just continuing on, I've been learning so much about myself and about what kind of discomfort I like. There's always another level you can get to where it's going to inspire action and inspire actually getting the shit done that you need to get to the next level. If you're not comfortable, you're not, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not going to grow as a person either. So I really think the key is to have the accountability and the discomfort as much as possible for a concentrated amount of time, and you're going to see how big you can grow as a person, how much growth you can get done in such a short time, just being uncomfortable and constantly doing the uncomfortable thing, like posting something that's going to piss people off and just like letting it stay there. That's a big one. That's a big one. Showing up online, discomfort, with discomfort and vulnerability and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've had the vulnerability hangover on occasion myself, so I know how that is.
Yeah.
What have you found is the best way to balance networking with the other things you do in business and in life so that you set aside the right amount of time for it, not too much and not too little?
I see. So I don't have any kids or pets or like any I live alone. So I have most of my time during the day is spent working and figuring out how to separate my day with working. Like marketing is a huge thing for me. I think half my day is spent online marketing, talking to potential clients, talking to not potential clients, and really going through the paces of posting and engaging with people. If my client roster was large enough, I would do a lot less marketing. But at the moment, right now, it's about half and half. I consider my marketing to be a lot of networking as well. It's a lot of nurturing, a lot of letting people know what I do, and then sometimes I'll join like networking things, but I I found that since I only work with like a small percentage of potential entrepreneurs, because most people are in the beginning are like really stuck in the beginning, um, that a lot of networking events are not super profitable for me. What's really profitable for me is connecting with people to get connected to the people they know. So it's really that kind of networking. So it's a lot of one-on-one and a lot of creating relationships and creating friendships with people to then not because I want to get access to the network, but to build the trust so that they know, oh, you can do this for me. I'm going to feel like an amazing person connecting with this person because they really need your help. So they're going to see me as the person who connected them to the solution that I needed. So it's really a win-win for everybody involved.
Yeah, so you probably, when you do go, you probably go to a lot. Okay, I'm going to meet somebody who's going to introduce me to people who need me.
Yeah, people go to networking meetings for clients generally, and my clients don't need like they can get clients pretty easily on their own. So it's really who I can get connected to for networking meetings, really.
Yeah. I've also found, different networking meetings are balanced in different ways in terms of who's in there as well.
Yeah.
What are some of the benefits you've gotten out of networking, and how has that helped your business?
I was operating from referrals for the first 10 years of my business was just referrals from people that I worked for before I started my business. And so the eventually referrals don't come in as much as you would want them to. And so I really had to um I don't remember the question, but I really had to become uh better at like what I said in the beginning about talking about what I do and about actually going out and meeting people and getting past the nervousness of talking to people about what I do. Um Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, it sounds like you've gotten quite a lot of benefits just from the referrals alone.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, referrals are easy because people don't spend 10 grand on someone they don't trust. So having the referral, having somebody vouch for you is so important.
and you started getting them probably by doing, I'm assuming, lower ticket things.
Yeah, I used to charge people by the hour and I used to charge $25 an hour, which is ridiculous when it comes to the work that I do. At the time it was probably appropriate, but I quickly jumped to 50 to 100 to 150, and now I don't really do stuff for less than 200 an hour, but I don't charge per hour unless it's like a one-on-one for like 60 minutes. I create a solution to your problem and I tell you how much it will cost. That is the that I feel like that is the benefit of growing is eventually you get to say how much things cost and how long you're going to take is your business, and the result is what they're paying for.
What are your thoughts on tapping into your intuition and how do you use it when networking?
Um, I I'm so what I see as intuition is really pattern recognition. So I've really managed to connect really well with people based on understanding their body language, based on figuring out what they're like, what type of person they are. Are they like self-conscious? Are they trying to get people to like them? What is the angle that I can use to become friends with this person or to connect with this person? And so I think the intuition just comes from noticing patterns and noticing how certain patterns have not gone well for me in the past or certain ones that have gone well for me in the past. And so I'm pretty intuitive when it comes to people. I get uncomfortable when there's a power difference dynamic. So I am learning about how to talk to people who I feel are more successful than I am, and that's a growth place for me at the moment. But it's really the intuition comes from being okay failing a lot and being okay being uncomfortable a lot in situations where you don't really understand what's going on, but then you think about it later and then you start adding that to your Rolodex of pattern recognition, which becomes intuition. For brands, for visuals, I can point out exactly what's wrong in something because of this intuition, this pattern recognition. I can tell you what rules we are breaking, what rules we should be breaking instead, what rules we should be following if we want people to think that we're high end. If there's You can't just make something like look like it's gold and a serif font or a scripty font to make something look high end anymore, because anyone can do that. And so there are other little ways to make things look really high end, that it just has to be something that nobody can replicate with the skill level that most people have.
Sounds like you've done a lot of trial and error, which is good because, as I say, it's like you do this thing, you see, oh, what happened then? And then you're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, any closing remarks or things that you wanted to add?
Yeah. Feel free to add me on Facebook and ask me any branding questions that you have. I am really happy to talk with pretty much any entrepreneur. And I have obviously this is gonna be time sensitive, but I do have things coming up in the next few weeks that but obviously if you're listening to this in May, that's not going to help you. But there's a lot of ways to get you from DIY through survival to expanding your business that don't require the full branding experience, but can benefit uh, from having somebody to bounce questions off and to really try to help you, point you into the right direction of what you should be doing with your time, money, and expertise. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you're so welcome.